Senko, thank you so much for coming to our first Ship AI podcast. You have a lot of startup stories, very interesting startup stories, some acquisitions. So, what are you doing right now after all these exits, startups? What's happening in your life right now?
Mm. Yeah, so it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. So right now, I'm doing kind of consulting. I'm like researching a lot into AI, how to use AI in products or in software development, stuff like that. So basically, doing consulting to other companies to help them recognize what's hype, what's real, what benefits they can do, whether they should just ignore it. So basically, helping other companies with those kind of integrations.
And what's something that you, through all that research, figured out is very useful, and what's something that you think is very wasteful that companies waste money on and try to integrate, but doesn't make any sense for them to integrate?
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot of hype and a lot of confusion about what are real capabilities, and a lot of these companies have really smart engineers, but they are not in this area knowledgeable about this area. So they don't know whether they should fine tune their own AI, use an open version, host it themselves, use some on the provider, and so on. So there's a lot of searching and trying what makes sense for them. So I think most misunderstanding is from whether they should try to fine tune their own AI, which in almost all cases is no. So you have to have really specific use cases why that's needed. Most of these cases are not, but this is some kind of hearsay best practice that I think that they should do. So one of the things I try to do, like how I provide value as a consultant, is to try to tell them not to do something, not to waste time or money or GPU resources on stuff like that.
Do you feel like there's something crucial missing in the whole AI ecosystem? I mean, a lot of companies are building a lot of stuff, everything is AI, but you, as someone with 25 years of experience, do you see something that's missing in some field that could use AI to help the process significantly, or that no one is building pretty much?
Well, not like one specific thing, but definitely I think that as an industry we are still learning how to best apply AI. What's working? For example, there's really documented cases of hallucination, AI doing going off the rails, or having prompt injection, stuff like that. So basically, there are considerable downsides to AI, and there are also upsides. So we're still, all of us, learning how to minimize the downsides, how to implement it, which use cases to work on that use the best of AI but avoid the worst problems. And one of the big challenges I think in many companies is how their internal data is structured, or how it's organized, whether it's organized at all. So one company wanted to use AI in some of their processes, and it turned out that they didn't even have digital transition in the sense that they had stuff on paper, not even in files yet. So basically AI is as good as your data is, and then if the input is garbage, then the output will be garbage as well. So there's a lot of things companies will need to do to prepare for effectively using AI. And a lot of them are trying to use it as a basically hidden marketing tool, or rather they're doing AI because everybody else is doing AI, not necessarily because they need AI. But they need to be able to tell, yeah, we're doing AI, we're building AI products, or we're modern, we're not behind the times.
Okay, and what's something that you've seen through your consulting? Where does AI fit best? Like, where's the most return on investment in terms of implementing it in some process or somewhere in any kind of company?
It really depends on their what's their internal process. So ideally, it's some kind of a step in this process that's manual, error prone, tedious. People really don't want to do it. A typical example, which can be done without AI, but AI is really a good tool here, could be transferring paper documents, or scanning, OCRing, interpreting paper documents and entering them into a whatever ERP or whatever system they're using. So basically, this is something that if you need to do it manually, this is a tedious, costly, error-prone process. And even if AI has some errors, it's still like the error rate is probably less than the human error rate. So if you have some kind of company process where a manual, this kind of manual work is needed, and you can replace it with AI, you can immediately speed up and make the whole process cheaper. So stuff like that. It's really dependent on what the company does, what's like their internal processing structure, and so on.
And I have to ask the big question everyone's always pushing forward: is AI gonna replace developers?
No, I don't think so. But developers using AI are going to replace developers that are not using AI.
Fair.
That's my take on it. I mean, AI is just one of the tools that we as developers can use, and developers have been like removing themselves out of the picture since we introduced compilers. So we had like assembly code, and then people invented compilers. So you didn't actually need to do coding in assembly. Then they did like higher level languages and so on. Then they did the frameworks. So basically, as developers, we are constantly in the process of abstracting away and removing ourselves from the picture, and then building more and more complex stuff. Who knows whether that's like a good direction in general? Some would argue not, but AI is just one another tool in that tool set.
Fair. Gives me some relief as someone relatively new in the industry. Let's now talk about all your companies and startups. So first, Naslovnica. How did that come around? Where did the idea come from? How was the start? How is the climb? Can you talk to me about it?
So Naslovnica was a news aggregator for local Croatian news sites. So that was back in 2005, 6, something like that, 6, 7. And that was the high day of Web 2.0, with social just coming on the scene, RSS being a great thing. So RSS is nowadays just used for podcast and like personal blogs. But then a lot of sites pushed it, and it was a way to just aggregate the content, aggregate the blogs, news sites, and so on. But Croatian, like local media outlets, didn't actually do it. I wanted to use it, so I built myself like some kind of aggregator that would just pull all the news from all the sources in Croatia that I wanted to track. So basically, built it for myself, shared it with a couple of friends, and then it slightly, like constantly, grew in the user base. And basically what it does is it was a way to get up to speed with what's going on without going to 20 different media portals, and just a much, in my opinion, cleaner and an easier way to consume the news.
Yeah, simpler. And you said you sent it to a bunch of friends. Did you have any specific marketing tactic, or was it just, as you said, a side project that grew into something that you realized could be an actual business?
Yeah, it was just a side project. Sent it to a couple of friends. I mean, I posted about it online, but not as a marketing tactic, not as like trying to get as many users as possible. So it was just something that grew organically, and yeah, it was always a niche. So it wasn't really huge or popular, like had a great, awesome, like big presence. But some of the users were people in the media industries in some of these portals. So that was kind of also a way that led to the acquisition. Because at some point, like through some mutual acquaintances, one of these media houses, 24 Sata, part of Styria, they decided it would be good to put into their own portfolio of products. They were at that time on the shopping spree trying to build up a wider portfolio of digital media assets, and they figured Naslovnica would be a really nice fit into that space. So kind of that's how we were in contact.
And was this from their side more of a acquisition of technology, since you said it never was really big, or did it eventually, before you sold it, grew to some like good number, something you could justify a big sale from? Or did they just purely buy it to take the technology, integrate into their own kind of thing?
Yeah, that was primarily a product and technology, but not a user base move for them, I think. So not because of the many readers that I had. I mean, when you compare that to the Chatrisata, Večernji List, and so on, it was nowhere near as big. But it was like a different take on the news consumption, and I think they were also exploring what are the different. So in those, like, basically a bet on maybe some portion of people want to consume news the other way, and it was also useful for them internally. So they used it themselves. So it was, I think, for the product and for the technology, but not for the user base.
And is this something that still lives on in some form somewhere, or did they eventually just fold it into an internal product?
Yeah, I think that it's not. It's has been they've been maintaining it or actually upgrading, redesigning some parts for a couple of years, but eventually they turned it off for the public. I don't know if they're still using something similar or like really down the road version of it internally.
Okay. And as for Music Box, how did that idea come around?
Yeah, so Musicbox is basically Spotify for cafes, restaurants, hotels, venues, stuff like that. And it's in three different verticals. It's a technology product, so technical. It's related to the music industry because the content is music, and it's also in the hospitality sector, so cafes, restaurants, venues, so-called Horeca sector in the industry. So basically, it touches all three. And the idea came through one of my friends is like worked had a line of business in the hospitality sector distributing point of sale systems for cafes, restaurants, stores, and previously he also had some contacts in the local music industry, the music distributors. At some point, I don't know, the idea came through that it would be useful to have something that's optimized for like the media or music player or music solution optimized for those kinds of places. So like Spotify, YouTube, CDs, USB sticks are all the solutions that cafes are usually using. But there's a lot of things that are annoying. For example, you can, if you're in a restaurant for more than an hour, then you hear music on repeat through CD, or maybe on YouTube you get commercials, stuff like that. So basically, this was an attempt to solve this. And from the product, and we had connections with the distributors, so we could like legally source the music. We could like sign contracts with them to be able to offer this content. We knew how to do the technical side of things, so the real-time music streaming, and we also had like some knowledge of the hospitality industry, so how to sell to the prospective market. And I believe that we did the product side and the content side, the music side of things really well. But the really challenging here part was go to market, so selling, marketing, the distribution of the thing, and it's a really tough market to crack. Basically, you have thousands or tens of thousands little customers who are not online all the time, who now they are, but they're really not as like gung-ho of signing up to online services, SaaS products, and so on. So the sales process was basically high touch, meaning a salesperson needs to go there, talk to ask for a boss, talk to the boss, to the manager of the venue, and it was high touch. It was pretty slow, and there's thousands of these. So it was really a pain point how to do that. And it turns out it's that we were I think scaling nicely on these two, on the product and content side, and then Corona hit. So like everything shut down, including like why wouldn't anybody pay for a venue music when the venue itself is shut down and they're fighting to survive as a business. So that completely froze us for a year, and then after reopening, it started to pick up again. But again, this slow pace. So it turns out that really the hardest part was this go-to-market and sales strategy, and one of the things that have scars from is this respect from. It's like if you're a technical person, it's probably easier to build a product than to find a good, scalable, profitable way for selling this product, putting it on the market.
And when you guys went to sell it to restaurants and hotels, what was the pitch? I'm assuming there was something you told them, hey, this is why you should buy it. This is why it's very good. What was the kind of your kind of golden thing that you packaged?
And you have to remember in this case, we are basically competing with radio, which is free. Everybody, all the venues have to pay to Zamp. They have to pay a fee to be able to legally, publicly play the music. But this is irrespective of what you're using, whether that's a USB stick, your CD, radio, whatever. So we couldn't avoid that part. So that was also a sticking point. And then we asked them to pay for our service while radio was free. But our pitch was, you want to optimize the music atmosphere, the music of your venue. You don't want to rely on radio. So radio has radio shows. It has commercials for products that you're not selling maybe in your cafe. It's like different brands of beer or something that's totally unrelated. So you have a lot of content on the radio that's not nice music atmosphere that's really suited to your venue. And we also had a feature where you could plug in your own jingles, your own commercials into the system. So if you have, I don't know, a weekend party with some special offerings, special things, you could like advertise that through the week, or maybe like a lot of these places have some kind of deals with drinks providers to get discounts for promotions and so on. So you can integrate those promotions, and basically you can make maybe more money through those ads within your system than it would take you than it would cost, and you can optimize this music content to your needs. But it was a really hard pitch. Some of them got it. Some of them were really not interested into that.
Okay, and from the technical side, this is what interests me. How long did it take you to build an MVP? Because I read in the blog post there was some hardware you guys also provided, right?
So there was the hardware component. We used Raspberry Pi for this, but the MVP was, I think, done in one evening. The MVP was just, I don't know, 50 MP3 files on a disk and streaming servers like the open source Shoutcast or something. And that was it. So that was the MVP. Was here's one playlist, you can play that, and that's it. So nothing else. And we, I think, use that in a couple of places to just see whether they are interested, which they were. But the signal there, we should have been maybe more. So we built the MVP really quickly, but we should have been more careful about what the feedback was from the customer in terms of their willingness to pay. So it was a great product for them, but turns out great product and somebody willing to pay are not always the same thing.
Yeah. You said it was simple. I have no idea about the music industry. All I know about it is it's very cutthroat. Like they're gonna sign terrible contracts, like milk you dry. How did you plug in the music besides local audio files on the device? Because I'm assuming you hooked into some music, so you don't have to have a bunch of audio songs on the device. How did that work?
Yeah, so all the content was on our servers and locally there and streamed to the device. So people could either use just a web browser to access and play it, or they could use this device, which could cache a bit just to account for network problems and so on. But it wouldn't be storing long-term the content files.
Okay. And did you ever have any issues with licensing or some big company coming for you in terms of like, oh, pay me money because you're using some music somewhere somehow?
Yeah. No, actually, it's like from that part of the picture, it's easily set up in Croatia because you have Zamp, which is basically the only body that you have to negotiate for the licenses. They are like company that represents all the artists everywhere and their playback in Croatia. And basically, once you have a contract with them, you pay a portion of your revenue to them, and that's it from the legal part. And then you have the music distributors, which are the parties that you actually get the content from. So we don't go buying CDs and then ripping them. It was like we had access to the content. And again, we had to not negotiate, but we had to come to the agreement with them to share these files, which they do want. That's basically their job. But, just getting on the same page and signing those paperworks and so on, that took a long time. So I think we wouldn't have been able to do that if we hadn't had already some contacts and knew who to ask, like what's the procedure, how we can do that.
Okay, and that's something I always, as I'm getting older, I see how important it is. But what's your opinion about how important connections are to get into some business, some industry? Because like I'm realizing you have to have some into some industry, some business, somewhere to do something. Because if you just make something and go there and ask, hey, can you guys look at this? They're probably gonna say no. So what's your stance on having network or?
Yeah, network is really important. So network in the sense of if you're selling to your network, if you're selling to people who already know about you, you know much more about your target market then, and you have like warmer or just at least not very cold leads. Network in the sense of if you have to have like business partners or third-party systems that you depend on, like we had for music content, you have to basically be able to somehow get the door opened and to talk to them. So yeah, I think networking is really at all stages is really important.
Any advice on how to network more efficiently? Like go to conferences, meetups, or is there something you do that allows you to meet interesting people all the time?
I don't know. I think I'm lousy at networking, so I'm not the best person to ask that. But the key issue is don't try to sell immediately. So go to, I don't know, conferences, to meetups, to hackathons, to meet interesting people, talk to them. If you have something like useful to say or connect with others, like provide value in that regard. But don't try to like do some business right away. Just network and meet a lot of people, and down the road you might need those people, or those people might need you, and that's gonna pay off. But this is something like it's if you want to look at it as what's the ROI on it or what's the game plan, it's a long term game, and it's for some people it's more exhausting, for some people it's natural to mingle, to talk, to network, but you have to do it. You have to like, especially for example for software developers, for programmers, for startup founders. If you're just within your little bubble, you have no idea about the kinds of problems maybe you could be solving outside your bubble. So it's even more useful and important to meet people that are not doing the same thing that you're doing. So yeah.
Sure. And to wrap up the Music Box story, so tell me about the exit or the wrap up of the whole.
Yeah. So yeah, I mentioned that like it was slightly growing, but we were having really problems with this distribution and market stuff, and this is because you have to have a really like a sales base to do that. And one of the things that that turned out is like one of the, again, contacts, because it's a really small niche, had so other companies that sell to those same customers are, for example, drinks companies or any companies that like sell to this retail sector, and they have maybe a spectrum of products that they sell to cafes, maybe like sugar packages or glasses or whatever, and fitting Music Box as one of the products that you're selling that maybe has some like kind of synergies with everything else that you're selling is a good fit. And so we basically sold to a company that provides something like that, and where Music Box fits within whatever else they are offering to those customers, and they already have like established distribution channels, established selling channels. And this was not like build a whole new sales force for this. It was like we are just increasing the stuff, like the surface area of the products that we can sell to somebody.
Yeah. And is Music Box still in cafes or restaurants right now?
Yep. It's still ongoing product.
Any big
It
ones
works.
you can name?
No, so yeah, actually haven't checked lately, so my news would be out of date. But I'm kind of under an NDA for
Okay,
some of these
fair.
details, so can't share now. But yeah.
Fair. And now for the very interesting story of Awwwards. How did that start? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so Awwwards or Web Whiteboard or OAP is basically this started as a side project within my software development agency, so Code. We're just building custom web apps, and it started as a experiment on this new technology that was going on that was bursting on the scene at that time, which was Node.js. So this was in 2011, and Node.js was rather new. I think we used 0.6 version or something like that. And the idea was to just try and create a online web-based canvas to drawing. So I had this device that was running Linux. I didn't have any just sketching, drawing programs on it. And I was like, I'm gonna build a web app for this. Put it online on Hacker News, got some interesting comments like maybe you could support sharing, which didn't occur to me at the time. And so it was really for a number of years just a side project within the company, and I didn't take it really seriously. But it grew bit by bit, and at some point we started getting like feature requests. Can I put this on my own website? Like for one company was one user was a roofing company, and they wanted to have a way for their clients to sketch what they need to do on the roofs, like how to design how to put the layout of the roofs, something like that. So basically, I decided, okay, I can maybe sell API access to this. And so for again a bunch of years, OAP was just free version on the main site, and you can also integrate it into your own site using the API key. And somewhere in 2016, 2017, the usage was like large enough that I thought about maybe we should just spin it off into a proper startup and treat it seriously.
And were there some metrics that told you to do that, or when was the decision made? Let's try this seriously.
So there was different things. So there was Google Analytics, which kept slowly but steadily growing, and there was this revenue, which was also growing a bit. I don't remember exactly, but like a couple $100 per month at that point.
Okay, yeah, I remember in the blog post you mentioned it wasn't, I think, ramen ready from.
Yeah, it wasn't. So the ramen profitable
Yeah,
term is
yeah.
like, can you at least cover your basic living expenses if you're just buying the cheapest possible food? So it wasn't ramen ready, but it was also like at that point as a side project we didn't calculate how much resources we put into it. So this a couple of $100 was just basically a proof that somebody wanted to pay, that it had some value to some segment of customers.
Yeah, and when you decided to take it seriously, how did you go about it? I remember you hired some people, salespeople, developers. What was the kind of strategy to grow this whole thing?
Yeah, so I was thinking about like how to put it into a proper startup mode, and at that point I was still working like mainly on in good code on just running the agency. So I was on visiting various startup meetups and met Zvonimir Sablic on one of them and approached him with basically a pitch. I pitched him, hey, do you want to join me on this? I'm gonna spin it out of the company and need somebody who had startup experience, who is has both startup experience but wants to take on this tiny project and see where it can go. We hired a couple of people. I put some of the people from Good Code from the agency to do like some parts of the like designs, stuff like that. But yeah, spun it off into a separate entity because we thought about maybe getting some investments down the road, maybe selling it down the road. We had like high plans, applied to YC a couple of times with it, and so on. And started seriously working on it. Did a bunch of work on features, on how to improve onboarding, on reaching out to others. It didn't seem to have some sizable effect. It turns out it did. It was just slower. It was just we had to wait for maybe a year or two to see the effects of all the work that we did. But at that time, we were like, why doesn't it go hockey stick? So we had like 10x growth projected. Why isn't it growing 10x? We were green.
And well, when you realized it's not growing as fast as you expected it to, what was the kind of shift? How did you approach changing the course of the product or company?
Yeah, so we basically thought about what are we going to do with it. So it was growing. It was at that point, I think, a couple of $1,000s. So grew a couple of X over I think 2 years. But it was still like in total volume, it was small, and we treated it as okay. Let's treat it as a side business. It's still startup. It's living. We're working somewhat on it, but not full time. So Zvone also had some gigs that he was taking on at that time, just because it wasn't really profitable enough at that point. I was focusing more on the agency stuff. So we were also one of the idea was maybe we can just sell it, like flip it on one of these marketplaces, because like it's healthy, it's growing. It's just not hockey stick growth that we wanted. Do we want to go long term with this kind of growth? Do we want to sell it? So those were the kind of various options that we were thinking about.
And when COVID hit, you mentioned in the blog post it took off. Was it just like naturally took off exponentially, or did you guys see that okay, now everyone's in house, education is going to be very in house, this is our chance, or did it just happen and you guys realized, hey, we need to ride this out?
Yeah, it just happened. So we were just before the COVID hit, we were negotiating with one of these marketplaces to put the project on sale, and then I think that was like 17th of March, something like that. And we got hammered like immediately the next week with our servers, with our support emails. I was within, I think, 2 weeks, I was full time on it. Zvonimir had to finish up some of the stuff on the other project that he had. So he took a bit longer to be able to fully switch to OAuth. But I think in 2 weeks, it was obvious that there's this huge oncoming tsunami of users coming our way, totally unexpected. So one of the things that we actually did really, really well was the SEO basically, or just branding in terms of when you search for whiteboard, OAuth would be the first result. So even before physical whiteboards on Amazon or whatever, we were the first result. So COVID hit, everybody is offline, everybody's searching for whiteboard, and we're the first hit. And so why were we the top hit there? Because it's inherently like a product that you want to share. You are drawing online with somebody, you want to send them the link to join you, and they know about the product, they learn about it, then they share it about. So basically, without knowing it, we put a word of mouth, viral loop directly into the core loop of the product usage. And also we had zero friction. So you load the page, you can you have a pop-up, you dismiss the pop-up, you can start drawing. So there was no sign up. I mean, you could sign up for extra features and so on, but you could just use it right away. So it was basically zero friction or very, very low friction. And the SEO position was really good because of this sharing story that we have quietly built up without even recognizing it in the years before. So we had tremendous luck, but we put ourselves in a really good position to take advantage of that luck when this little thing called pandemic started.
Yeah, and when it was like growing exponentially, what was like? How did you feel? I'm assuming it was very chaotic to try to make sure infrastructure holds up all the traffic. What was the plan then? Did you want to grow it really big, or did you already realize this is something I don't want to be in right now? I'm probably gonna sell it in a year or two. What was your train of thought then?
Yeah, so the train of thought was I want to survive today and like have a working service tomorrow. So basically, we were just working constantly and totally focused on day to day because we didn't have basically the capacity to think like mental space to think very long term. So it was just like fires going everywhere because it wasn't really built to scale on that amount. And I think that at some point we figured out like it's probably going to taper off at some point. So we're just growing really quickly. We don't know when it's going to level off a bit. It probably will be. It probably will be when the lockdowns are over. Who knows when that's going to be? Who knows how the like systemic shift of people going online, how well that's going to last. So at some point we managed to hire somebody for support because at that point there was only two of us. Yeah, so I didn't mention, but before all this, when we put OAP as a kind of side project, we also trimmed down the workforce, and it was just Zvonimir and me at that point. And we had to go through like, from just the usual, how do I do something, support requests to servers failing. We had to manage all that. And at some point, we had enough spare capacity to be able to go through hiring process, hire somebody to help us out with the support. That was first, and then also onboard two developers to work on the technical side of things. And then we started thinking more long term. Okay, what does it mean? So it grew from not really ramen profitable to really becoming really nice chunk of money in our pockets. But like we had no idea how far that's going to go. So we had a couple of conversations with potential buyers through that marketplace. But every time we had a conversation, we were upping our price because our revenue was, I don't know, doubling, and we would double our price as a like immediate result of this. So it didn't like nobody was like people thought we were joking about that we were not serious sellers, and we were also thinking about maybe not selling it because it's the hockey stick is finally happening a couple of years late. But at some point, we did get approached by a more serious buyer, which was Miro, which is the leader in that space. And also they approached us, I think, in the summer the first time. And it's like, maybe guys think about selling. We were like, we don't know. And we like threw around some numbers, nothing serious, told them our revenue and so on. And then a couple of months back, later, they come back and ask, so did you think about it? We think that would be maybe an interesting option. We were saying, yes, okay, we grew, I don't know, 6 times in that part. So it basically created some kind of urgency or FOMO on that regard. And at that point, Miro, I think in spring, raised 52 million or something. Also on the story of everybody going to go online, and they were on the shopping spree for all the competitor products. So we started seriously talking with them in the autumn about the sale.
And how was the whole acquisition process? I remember you mentioning it was a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth, a lot of lawyers. So was it more stressful and difficult than you thought? And how long did it take from them saying like we want to buy this seriously until money hit the bank account? Like was it a long process or?
Yeah, so we had, I think somewhere in early autumn, we had like a gentleman's agreement. They were interested in buying, and so the initial talks were really quick. Maybe, I don't know, let's say a month between their second approach and then that we could actually, like, we would be open to getting acquired. and then it was the paperwork, start of things. So there's the letter of intent, which is like a kind of formal document where the company says, we are interested in buying you. And this is not binding, so they can just at any point say, we don't want that. So it's not binding for them, but it is binding for you in the sense that you're not, like, it depends on the document, on the contract, but maybe you're not allowed to talk to other companies about selling, so you don't start a bidding war, or you have some restrictions on what you can do, and it has some kind of deadline to do everything. And what you need to actually to do, the process is they want to do legal due diligence, so check that the intellectual property is okay. They want to do technical due diligence. They want to see like what's the code base, whether that would explode the second day, the day after they buy it, stuff like that. So this took a couple of months, and then the actual sale is again not a single thing. It's like you sign an agreement and then you close the sale. So closing the sale is, again, can be a couple of months after you sign the agreement to sell something. And a lot of things can happen in those couple of months.
Are you just waiting, or what's happening?
So at this point, they were doing like some parts of the due diligence they wanted to do after this agreement, and also what they wanted to do after the agreement was but before the close is to transfer all the assets to them. So basically, a closing means everything is done, the sale is complete. So transferring the assets, doing some of these legal shuffling, tracing, and so on, announcing it to the world, and so on. So what we didn't want to do is tell everybody, hey, we're selling to those guys, and now use Miro whiteboard, not us. And then they decided at the last moment, no, we're not going to close. We're paying the breakup fee maybe, but we're not. We're letting you off. And that was kind of one of the sticking points. Is we wanted to make that window as short as possible. They wanted to have as many options as possible, so there was some negotiation here. And also the contract language itself was really verbose. It was like 55, 56 pages of English legalese, which we were really, we wanted to understand what was going on. And at that point, I remember joking, the EU AstraZeneca agreement for millions of doses of potentially life-saving vaccine was 12 pages long. And our sale agreement for OIP was 55 or 56. And it was terms like you learned difference between warranties and indemnifications, and it's like English legalese. And one of the things we had to agree on is that we are going to basically cover all costs in case of an oil spill due to a bug in OIP. Like stuff like that. Totally irrelevant to anything. But I don't know, some lawyer somewhere decided that was appropriate.
So if your app causes an oil spill somewhere, you would have to cover the cost, if I understand correctly?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, really, some really obscure stuff in there. And so that was like silly because, okay, whatever, I'm willing to take on that risk. Yeah. I think tankers are not using OAP. But there were other issues where we were really not sure whether we're going to get on the same page with them. And it was like easily not going to happen because of these things. So it was draining, really draining process.
Was it mostly those kind of small contract details that you couldn't agree on, that you went back and forth, or what was the...
Yeah, just the lawyerese stuff. Like we, from business side at Miro and us, we were like, we want to make this deal happen. Let's just like iron out the details, guys, please. And the teams of lawyers on each side were like, wait a minute, we have to discuss this oil thing.
And in the end, did you guys like kind of went around them and pushed the lawyers to actually make a deal, or how did they?
We applied some pressure, like we want to do this. Let's do this. Let's like simplify things. We like they left some of the points that they could. We agreed to these some of these things that we could. So it was like business people can make the agreement, and then lawyers come and potentially break the thing.
Yeah.
That
And as for you, you mentioned they come into your company, look at the code, look at the finances. It feels to me that they kind of come and dig into every aspect of the company. How did that feel? Like, did that feel like kind of intrusive from there, and they could just see everything that's going on, and then just say, hey, we're not going to buy your company, and then they kind of know mostly what's happening? Was that a thought?
that's a possibility, and yeah, they can see like we have to give them access to everything. This is one of the things that we agreed to, and it was okay with us because we understood that this was part of the process. Like this is something that you have to do. If you don't want to do that, you don't sell, and that's the end of it. And they were also pretty cool, pretty gracious about it. So it didn't sound intrusive and so on. Stuff like for every open source package that we use, and if you use Node, you install something, you have 600 packages, whether the license is appropriate. So we found one where the license wasn't obvious, so we had to work around that one tiny little detail. We removed it, we re-implemented it like in 2 lines of JavaScript, stuff like that. So then tracking the intellectual property ownership of the written code. So some of this code was descended from Good Code, from my agency. So we had paperwork from Good Code selling this to myself, and then me selling this as a founder to the LLC, to Awwwards, the company. And then we had paperwork from people employed in a Good Code agency that were working on this. And this was all in Croatian because it's like people employed in Croatian company. So they had to hire Croatian lawyers to check out the Croatian specific laws, and then stuff like that.
Yeah.
A bunch of really tiny details, but you have to iron everything out.
Okay. And I guess then the final before the final venture with Pythagora, tell me the story about Pythagora and YC. That's what I'm interested about.
Yeah. So just as a background context, so after signing OAP, Zvonimir had some startup ideas that he wanted to pursue. I also had some ideas, also took some time off. So basically we went into different venture directions. And what he and Leon, which is a co-founder of Pythagora, started doing is using AI for like various things. So Pythagora went through a couple of pivots, and I started a SaaS which wanted to use artificial intelligence to build API backend services. This was before the ChatGPT and AI boom. I tried to use like the symbolic Lisp style AI with a bunch of rules, how to combine bits of logic and then build a product. So I had this one approach. They were doing their own thing, but with the advent of modern LLMs, basically our approaches started to converge. And as one of them was like, "Hey, join us. We're doing basically very similar stuff that you're doing, trying to solve a similar problem." And I was, "Yeah, sure," and basically joined up with them. And unbeknownst to me at the time, just found out when I joined, they were also they were doing not fundraising, but like talking to investors, trying to see how to set up everything, and also applied to YC and got into YC. So that was in like all these applications, and as Vonimir and me talking was in late 2023. And then in start of 2024, so winter 2024 batch, we were in YC in San Francisco.
And what was that experience like? I always imagine it as very intensive and a lot of fun. So how was it from your perspective?
Exactly, as I mentioned. So it's extremely intensive. So we were doing like coding or talking to other founders, or like just living and breathing the startup ecosystem there like 24/7. I think that's like, imagine a hackathon and then 3 months of this. But also not just the coding part, but also pitching or just talking to everybody else. And the amount of like people who are really clever, really ambitious, really have already done a lot of things is huge, and you're surrounded with it. So it's like here in Croatia, I think we're a bit lagging behind Western Europe in terms, and especially London and Berlin in terms of startup ecosystem. And Europe in general is lagging behind the US, maybe New York, Austin, Denver, and everything like the US is lagging behind San Francisco and Silicon Valley in terms of the like just number of people that are just into that and number of talent and so on. So it was really high intensity, really fun, but also really really exhausting time. So YC is I think that the best known and in my opinion the best startup accelerator in the world. They do 4 batches a year. They used to do, I think until last year, they did 2, winter and summer batch. Now they're doing 4. And they take, accept, in our case, I think that was 250 companies in a batch out of, I think 0.2% is the acceptance rate or something like that, or 0.5%. Of the companies that apply. So really, they have seen a lot of companies. They have seen a lot of founders. They have seen a lot of stories, ideas, pitches, and so on. And they have this like internalized knowledge of what makes sense, what doesn't. Like pattern matching on you describe something, and they have probably seen dozens of startups having the same problem. At the other hand, they are basically a resource. They give you all these possibilities. Like you can talk to the YC partners, you can talk to everybody in your batch. Everybody is really helpful and like, want to help each other. Through this network, you can basically get to anyone if you have a good reason, right? But it's there. You have to know, like, you have to ask for it. You have to go for it. You have to get it. You have to have a good reason to, I don't know, get to Elon Musk or whoever. So there's a lot of opportunity and things that are available to you, but nobody is like holding you by the hand and telling you should do this, you should do that. It's like, okay, you have everything at your disposal, now do the best thing that you can. And basically they're really pushing founders to do more, to do faster, and to sell earlier in the life cycle.
Okay, and how did your day look like there, or week, or month? I'm assuming like it was every day, whole day, but what did it consist of? Did you just code the whole day, or did they have like something on the weekends, like some meetings, or what was the structure overall?
Yeah, so the structure part is the first, I think, 4 or 5 days we went on a retreat. So they bought a hired a retreat for a weekend or for extended weekend, and everybody went there. And I was like, why? We came here to code and do startup stuff. Why we're doing this? Basically, they wanted to do this for the founders to get to know each other, to get some cohesion in the batch, because 250 is a lot of people, 250 startups, and they also kind of set the stage with various talks throughout this and activities throughout this. They set the stage to get you in the let's say right mindset, to talk about how you should like talk to your customers more than your instincts tell you, to try to sell your product, because if somebody sells I'll buy it and gives you money, this is a more honest feedback than if they just say, oh, it's nice. Push you to tell war stories about how some other startups maybe implemented something in 2 days. They thought it's going to take them a week, but they cut all the corners and went to market faster. Stuff like that really energize you, and then you go back. And after that, there's I think once a week session with a group partner. So a partner who is one of the YC general partners who is working with you as a startup. And there are like group sessions, which are like a couple of startups in a small mini batch, and also one-on-one sessions with a partner. And you can obviously have access to any other partner in the YC if you want to, but basically you have two main points of contact that you're like talking to every week. And there's one, I think there was one talk and one like talk-like session per week in addition, which was like maybe an alumnus or somebody coming and talking about their experience. And that was it for the like official timetable or official thing that you're supposed to be on. But like nobody's looking if you are or aren't. And all the rest of the time is you're organized as you see fit. So they always tell they're not an incubator. They're not organizing your timetable for you. You just like do your stuff. And there's like this couple of times per week when you counted everything, a couple of times per week, touch points with everybody else. And the batchmates are really like useful resource, maybe as customers, depending on like what kind of product you have, maybe just as a shoulder to cry on when your group partner says you have a week to like sell your product to somebody. It's like, I'm challenging you, try to sell this thing in a week or in 2 weeks. Can you do it? And you're like, peer pressure. I don't know, we can try. And they're like, Yoda, don't try, do it. And we're like, okay. And then after this session, we're talking to our batchmates. We have no idea what to do. And, and then like, you discuss things, you get some ideas, help each other out. So that's a really important part of the whole picture.
And do they kind of force you to do? You said they don't force you, but do they put any goals for you to match, or do they just give you money, give you like the ability to network and learn, and leave you alone, or do they are they more hands-on with some things, or?
Yeah, they challenge you. So there's these touch points, let's say once a week, once with group partner, the other week with a one-on-one. They challenge you to try to do better.
But is that just like a verbal, hey, I challenge you, or is there some like, more formal pressure on you?
There's no formal pressure. So okay. you can do as little or as lot as you want. But of course, everybody who gets in wants to maximize what they get out of. And in our case, we were like, we're building this product. It's not ready to like. We are working on some pilot projects, but we're not selling because it's not ready. And they were like challenging us why it's not ready. And then you make some excuse or make some reason. And they say, okay, but try to solve this in creative way and make it ready. And just maybe as a pilot project, as an experiment, try to find somebody. So challenge you in that way, not as you have to do it, but is in terms of we know you're ambitious people. You're in the batch because we know you're ambitious. Try to set up your goals a bit farther than don't fear trying to be more ambitious than just don't fear it.
Yep.
Challenging in that respect, and this is can be really motivational. And then you hit your goals, or you don't hit the goals because it was too audacious, but you still made a lot of progress. So that's again great.
And when you finished, or you said you came back home earlier, what was did you have any big shifts in the way you think or the way you approach business or marketing based on your time at YC and the talks you heard, people you met? How did it change you in a way?
Yeah, so I know that some mantra was talk to customers, talk to people, make something people want, and be fast about it. So iterate quickly, don't take months to do something if you can do it in days. But I didn't personally, I didn't appreciate how much faster they want you to be, or how much faster you could be. And this is this intensity that I mentioned, how intensive all of this can be. Cut all corners, get on the phone, call whoever you need, try to make something happen, whether that's coding or selling or figuring out other stuff. So that was really an eye-opening for me. How much more can you try? Can you do if you really just don't block yourself. At the other point, at the other extreme, that also means like you can always try to do more by just working all waking hours, and that can be also a problem for the long term.
Yeah, we're kind of coming to an end, but I want to just quickly go over a few topics. So you have API Bakery, if I'm not mistaken, and Tiena Dev. Is that just something you made on the side, same with the previous projects, or do you have any ambitions for those for the future?
Yeah, so API Bakery is basically, I don't think that, we'll see in which direction it goes, because it's really was obsoleted by the modern LLMs. So Tiena Dev is a non-commercial side project for me. It's fetches the pricing information from retail chains in Croatia, which they are legally obliged to do, but they all do it in various different formats. So basically, Tiena Dev just picks it up, cleans it, and then everybody else can use the API in Tiena Dev to get cleaned the product information, so product price information, without redoing all the cleanup and scraping and stuff. And that's kind of a side project for me. I can see it going indefinitely, or as long as there's this government regulation that allows for it. But I don't think that's going to become a big startup in itself. I don't plan on adding a lot of product-wise things, features, subscriptions, stuff like that. Yep. It's just a free resource for anybody who wants to play with those with this data.
And is there anything you're cooking right now, like any startup project, or are you just kind of semi-retired and now relaxing? What's in it for the future for you?
Well, I am. I'm dialed a bit more to the life part of the work-life balance. But just actually focusing on this consulting that I mentioned, focusing on just playing, experimenting with AI, both with coding or just doing stuff with AI. I don't have any at this moment big plans for the big next project. But like all my projects started as some tiny things, so who knows what's going to happen in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know. Still, I'm enjoying doing experiments, doing products, doing startups. So the niche is exciting to me, but I don't have anything like big plans, big vision that I'm working on right now.
Fair. Thank you for coming. We have to end it because we're kind of late with the time. But thank you so much for coming. Great stories, awesome stories. I had a lot of fun, and I hope we're going to see you again sometime in the future.
Thank you for having me. It was great.